week 4 of the fantasy football season. He has a few wide receivers. I have his sleepers this week. The first one, Xavier Legette of the Carolina Panthers. So Legette, he was on the radar early in the season getting drafted, where he was an early pick in the NFL draft this year. And then obviously the offense did nothing the first 2 weeks of the season. Then last week for the Panthers, Andy Dalton came in, put up a monster performance. I know Legette only had 2 catches, 42 yards in that ball game at Vegas. But now Adam Thielen got hurt in last week's game, hamstring injury. He's out minimum 4 games now, is Thielen. And he's next man up, him with Jonathan Mingo. But I believe Xavier Legette is going to get those number 2 wide receiver snaps. And at least he's got a quarterback that can get the football down the field and take shots. So this week, it's a decent matchup versus the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw last week they got torched by the Washington Commanders all over the field, up and down on Monday night. And I think Legette, just like I said last week, Jauan Jennings was someone that possibly was a sleeper play. Then you saw him go out for 11 for 175 and 3 touchdowns. I think Legette's has some good upside and could be a decent play. I'm not saying he's going to put Jauan Jennings' numbers up, but he's getting an opportunity, and at least now he's got a quarterback that could stretch the field a little bit. The next receiver, Tutu Atwell of the Los Angeles Rams. I thought Jordan Whittington was going to be that player to have a nice sleeper option and break out last week with all the injuries in the lineup with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua out. But Tutu Atwell stepped up, and we saw last season Tutu Atwell, when Cooper Kupp was out, filled in and played a good role and actually had some fantasy value in 12-team leagues or deeper. So last week, 4 catches, 93 yards on 5 targets. He's a speedy, undersized wide receiver in the slot, very fast, and he could get behind the secondary. And obviously with a quarterback like Matthew Stafford, he can get the football down the field. So this week, it's not a great matchup versus the Chicago Bears. But like I said, there's all 3 and 4 wide receivers on this roster where there's no true number 1. And I think Atwell could play himself into volume once again. And it just takes one deep ball where we know Stafford takes those shots a lot to have a decent ball game. So available in 95% of fantasy leagues. And he's a deep sleeper this week. And the third and final receiver I have as a sleeper this week here is Andre Aceves of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Aceves this year stepped up as the number 3 wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengal team. Available right now in 83% of fantasy leagues. In the last 2 weeks, he's gone out there and he's put up good numbers. Week 2, Kansas City, a little fluky though. 2 catches, 7 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. In week 3, versus the Commanders, 5 catches, 52 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. So we know the first 2 weeks Higgins didn't play. But last week on that Monday night game, Higgins played a whole lot. And Aceves still went out there and had a good ball game. So like I said, he could play that number 3 wide receiver role that Tyler Boyd's played for many seasons. This week, a great matchup at the Carolina Panthers where they really can't stop anyone. And if you in a deep league, or let's say a 12-team league with 2 or 3 flexes, I think Aceves is an option this week because Joe Burrow likes him. He keeps targeting him. And even in big parts of the game last week as well, he was going his way. So that's a few wide receivers. I have his sleepers for week 4 of the fantasy football season.